All right, so we're going to talk about the only 6 objections that you're ever going to get as a contractor. So welcome to the training. We're going to jump into this. This is a big topic, guys, but I want to set the stage first before we really dive in and start giving you the tools to handle objections. So lesson number 1 is really going to be about how to set yourself up so that you don't have to handle objections if you can avoid it. One of the biggest things is that if we take the objection handling portion and we shift it all back in our process and do some better vetting, some better qualification of each of our clients, we might not even have to handle as many objections in real time at the point where we're given a price. Now, for a lot of contractors, for GCs, for cabinet makers, think about how long it actually takes you guys to go and put your pricing together. You're sending out quotes, you're getting drawings done, or sorry, you're out looking for quotes from subcontractors, you're waiting for all this information back, then you need to compile it, put in a document, send it to the customer. I know for a lot of my cabinet maker clients, for example, they could be 8 to 10 hours in the design process and sending it off to the client with the price just to get told no. Now, we have very limited hours in our business, so we need to make sure that we are only working with people that are going to buy from us, or at least intend to buy this service from someone. It doesn't have to be us, but because we're going to handle that, but we need to make sure that this person is actually ready to buy this service. So there's only 6 objections that we're going to take you through, and if you master them and you use them as the task entails, right? Like I said, put it in a toolbox, pull the tool out when you need it, use it for the task, put it away again. You kind of need to practice this and really get your tools in order so that you're ready to use them and pull them out when you need to. So we're going to turn, I'm not ready. I need to speak to my spouse. I don't think I need this. That's really expensive. These are all the little things that we're going to be covering today. And we're going to turn those into the where do I sign? Let me know, right? How do we, how do I move forward? That's what your customer is going to be saying to you when you learn how to use these tools. So here's the 4. Goes like this, or the main 4, and then there's +2. So we say 4 + 2. So it's budget, need, timeline, and trust, BNTT. And then the +2 is 2 technical industry specific objections. Now you'll need to do some digging yourself. Likely you've probably seen these 2 objections in the past, right? Here's an example for me as someone who owned a large painting business is we would get the odd customer that would say, hey, do you only use this kind of paint that has low VOC and doesn't have a smell, right? Or can you do this? Can you work with lead exterior paint on the outside surface? Or maybe it's popcorn ceiling removal or something like that, right? It's going to be something that's industry technical that you will have seen in the past as a reason why you didn't land a job. If you found yourself saying, no, I don't do that, or hey, I can do that, but it's extremely expensive, those will be those objections. So what to say when they say no? I'm going to give you a bit of a quick reference guide, and you're going to find more information in the school course as well, which is going to be linked into this video below. You can jump in, get the school course, start learning, and learn more than just how to handle objections. You can learn how to build your sales process, how to put your business plans together, market, finance, recruit, whatever it is. It's all in the school course. Jump in and take a look. Now, here's what happens typically when somebody walks into a sales opportunity. Is the energy is high, the enthusiasm is high, right? And their little internal entrepreneur is saying, you're going to get the sale, you're going to get the sale, you're going to get the sale. Don't screw up, you're going to get the sale. And then we go through these motions, we give the client, we put this big package together and we paint the picture of how we're great and how we're the best. And then the customer says no. And what happens in your brain is it actually switches into defensive mode and it goes, whoa, you don't want me? And we take it personally, right? And a couple of things happen from there. When a customer says no, we don't automatically go, great, here's another challenge that we can dive into and solve. We go, screw you, I'm going to get your sale. And I'm going to throw as much as I can throw at you as I possibly can to get that sale. And we start doing what's called feature dumping, right? I'm the best. I have the biggest crew. I have the best systems. I have the best product. But so what? So what if you have all those things? If your customer hasn't explicitly told you, hey, these things are really important to me, what's the point in dropping it, right? You're just wasting breath. So we want to make sure that when we're working with our customers, if we do get that objection, that we are ready to handle it, not only professionally, but in a way where we can actually work out why that objection is coming up. It's not always as clear as it's the price. Customers say, oh, you're too expensive. Might not be the price. It might be that you can't get to their deadline, or it could be something else. So the skills that I'm going to teach you in this course or in this module, in the school course, is really going to be about how to decipher what the true objection is, break it apart, handle the objection, and ideally walk out with the sale at the end if you still want it. Not if the customer, changes their mind, but if you still want the sale and you still feel like you're a good fit, you can then decide to move forward. So, a couple of things before we get into this again. Sorry, guys, I know I'm dragging this out, but it's really important that we lay the groundwork before we jump in and tackle this. They're not your voice yet. You've not acquired these tools. These aren't yours, but they will become yours when you start to practice. When you go into these situations, and I want you to be looking out for objections for you to handle. It doesn't have to just be in sales, but just in daily life, right? I'm not telling you to argue with people. I'm going to teach you the framework to actually establish that objection and then overcome it. But look for those opportunities where you can practice your objection handling, right? Really good one is that when you go to your wife or your spouse and you say, hey, I really want to buy XYZ. And she goes, oh, that's a ridiculous idea. You can practice to paint the picture, help them come to terms with the objection, and then hopefully overcome it, right? That's exactly why I got a new fishing rod last week. Anyway, okay, so they're not your voice yet. Make sure that you practice, guys. This is going to be really important. So budget, need, timeline, and trust. We're going to go through all of them, and then we'll maybe touch on the two technical ones that we're talking about as well. Okay, so let's start with budget, right? Like this is probably going to be the most common objection that you come up against, and it's not overly difficult to overcome this. However, if you've not done the groundwork back in your process, so way back in your your qualification process, then you need to make sure you've nailed that first. You really need to make sure you've nailed that first. We don't want to handle this objection, but if we do have to, then here's how we're going to handle it. So line A, first one we're going to try. And again, there's 3 here. You can try whichever one. You can't do all 3, but pick one that you like the most and then stick to it. Is, all right, I got it. Okay, we're too expensive. I agree, right? This is the first thing is I agree. And this goes for every other objection. Always agree with the customer. I totally agree. This switches something, right? No longer am I a combatant. Now I'm in this with you. I'm on the same side. I agree. We are quite expensive, right? We are quite expensive. But how far apart are we? That's number one. Is how far apart are we? You had an idea of what you wanted to spend on this. I'm just giving you my price. Like how close are we? This is going to give you an idea of what that budget was to begin with. Once I get through the other 2, guys, I'll go back to that qualification process, and I'll actually teach you how to handle this objection long before it even becomes a real objection. But how far apart are we? That's going to get the client to, one, admit budget, right? Which I need to know. And then the second one is it's going to give me the ability to shape the scope. I don't want to compromise on price because my pricing is my pricing. If you're part of our Brave Academy network, you've already been through the pricing calculators and figured out your price that you need to charge, that you need to hold, and you can't waver on it. But if you're going to give a price and they say it's too expensive, don't adjust the price, adjust the scope. Bring the scope down. Bring the scope in line. So that's the first one, right? And again, I want you to sit back and listen, okay? Get really comfortable with silence. Silence is great because the first person to fill that silence can either win the deal or lose the deal. Usually, if it's the customer who fills the silence, you're going to get more information to close the deal. And if you jump in and try and fill that silence, you're probably going to kind of fumble it and you're going to lose the sale. So we want to make sure that we don't do that. So sit back and let them answer. I think there's a record silence from a sales guy that I follow, and he sits on the phone and he puts a timer on between him giving the price and the customer just sitting there thinking about it. And it takes 1.5 minutes for the customer to come back and fill the silence. And he just sits there. So get really comfortable with that silence and let the customer be the first one to speak here. So number 2, when we built this solution together, what part is off? Which part should we change to bring it down into your price, right? Now, that's important because when you're giving the client this information, you're reminding them that you built this solution to their problems together. And if it's too expensive, again, we do not want to compromise on price. We want to compromise on scope. So when we built this together, right, like this was best case scenario, what should we alter in the scope of work to get it down to the price that you were hoping to pay? And again, I'm going to sit back and listen. The customer doesn't really want to compromise on scope, but they want you to compromise on your price. Right? Now, I want you to think of this kind of like a Ferrari dealership, right? You go into a Ferrari dealership, you say, hey, I want to buy a Ferrari. They're going to get all hyped up and then they're going to give you the price and you're going to go, oh, I can't afford that. They don't then say, hey, well, we'll give it to you cheaper, because that devalues their brand. That devalues the car that they're trying to sell, their main product. We don't want to do that in this case. So when we say we're building a solution together, I mean, number one, if you're selling, if your customer wants a Honda Civic, sell them a Honda Civic, right? Like that, we're not trying to sell a Ferrari for Honda Civic pricing. So make sure that you can do this. And I will touch on this real quick. A quick tidbit for you is, if you're saying, well, hey, I can't do that, I don't feel confident in myself to be able to sell such a premium product, think about the people who work at dealerships, right? And it's funny, if you go into a car dealership, especially a high-end one like Audi or Mercedes-Benz or something like that, pay attention to the cars that are parked at the very back of the lot in the corner. You're going to see a lot of, Honda Civics and Acuras. It's the sales team's vehicles, and they're still expected to sell Mercedes to someone who is in there to buy a Mercedes. So don't tell me you can't do it. You can. It's just about changing your mindset. And again, also, we need to tell ourselves, I am not my own client. I am not my own ideal client. You will have established this psychology from having to just make things work for so long with your business, of being broke, that now you're scared to buy things, essentially, right? Things are expensive in your eyes, but they might not be expensive in the customer's eyes. This is a big part of one of our training sessions that we do in our boot camp, where we say pricing is subjective, meaning two people find pricing very, very separately, like expensive. And then the other one is, you're not your own client. So don't sell to yourself, sell the solution to somebody's problem at the price point that they can afford, but also within scope of what you're able to achieve. So when we build the solution together, which part should we change? Really important that we look at that, guys. Next one, is price your only concern? Is price your only concern? Now, again, it could be that there's a hidden objection hanging behind price. Price is always the easiest one to justify. And you might even hear this as something along the lines of, I need to speak to my wife, I need to speak to my spouse. It could be that it's not about getting agreement from a spouse. It could be that it's price. So vice versa, this goes both ways. You need to be sure of what the actual objection is. But is price your only concern? And they might say, well, no, actually, I wasn't too sure about XYZ, right? I'm not sure that the solution that you're providing is worth the value, or isn't valuable enough for the price that you're offering it at. And again, that's where I'm going to turn things around and say, okay, well, what parts of the value do you feel like you're not getting? Is it that you don't think we're going to get the results? Is it that you don't think that you can afford this, or you're not going to be able to see the results in justification of the price, right? We need to be sure of, is there anything else, or is it just price? Because before I go in and dive in and handle a price objection, I want to be sure that that's the only one. Again, silence is a tool here, guys. Don't go and rescue them from that pause. Let them fill the silence. It is your greatest asset in anything to do with sales. It's just leaving uncomfortable silences. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Let them fill it. Now, I'm going to throw in one more. I'm going to throw in an additional one that I've not given you, and it's not in my typical script, because this is a technique that I use personally for my clients. So if we ever end up in a coaching call together, you can be prepared that you're going to get asked this question if you give me a price objection. So if a client says that's expensive, what I like to do is ask them the question, compared to what, right? I want to know, what am I expensive compared to? Now think about it like this. A can of soda for $5,000 is an extremely expensive can of soda. However, $8,000 for a Mercedes-Benz, that's cheap. That's really cheap. So it's not the price that bothers you. It's the actual value that you get for that price. And so what I do in my sales calls is I'll actually handle that objection by saying that exact thing, but then I'll follow it up with, do you feel like you're getting the value for the price that is set at? And a lot of the times the answer is, well, no, I don't feel like you've told me enough, or I don't feel like you've given me enough information for it to justify the value that I'm going to get for that 5K. Now, just to throw one more in here and teach you another objection handling skill, then I will usually follow up with, well, yeah, it is expensive, but it's designed that way specifically. My course or my coaching is not easy. It's not designed for everyone. But I'll tell you one thing, the course works. I know that because I've got 40 people in the background who have written testimonials, who have been in coaching, who said they got the results that they were looking for. So it's not my program that's the problem. It's not my program that doesn't justify the price. It's the common denominator, which is going to be you and your commitment level. Do you have enough faith in yourself that you could get the same results as these 40 other clients. And then again, we're taking that objection, we're handling the price portion, we've changed it from an objection to price to an objection to my own commitment to this program, right? And again, some people, if they're big enough to admit, will say, no, I'm actually not that committed. I'm looking for an easy win here. In which case I'll say, well, listen, there's no silver bullets here in construction. There's no way to do it. So, I mean, you're on your own. So you can either prolong this, keep going for the next 3 years until you get to this point again where you plateau and you're struggling. Maybe the business has had some financial hardship, or do you want to put the time in now, be the entrepreneur and actually turn your business around and get the success in 3 years? Or do you want to just keep going trial by error, right? Trial and error. So that's budget, guys. That's really how we handle a budget objection is, again, number one, address and make sure that it is a price budget concern. Second one is adjust the scope. Right? If you're not getting the project that you want for the price that you want to pay, adjust the scope, not the price. And then lastly is making sure that the customer knows that it's the customer that is going to make that final decision whether they get the value. But what we've seen from other clients in the past is we have achieved XYZ results. So that's price, guys. I'm going to pause this one here. Go jump in and look at video number 2. There will be a part 2 where we jump into need. If you've enjoyed this video, then consider hitting the like and the subscribe, and check out that link in the video description for our school course. You can get all of this information in very, very easy to learn videos and walkthroughs and a bunch of resources. I think we've got over 100 hours of pre-recorded training for you to jump in and really scale your construction business. You can always also find out more on conquercontractorchaos.com and book a call with us if you want to get a quick chat and even get one of our download packs or something like that. Go and reach out to us. Our only thing is that we care that you take the leap to better yourself and become a better human being with a better business, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better wife, a better mother, whatever. We just want to make sure that you are actually developing yourself. That's our only concern, whether it's with us or with someone else. Jump in, learn from somewhere, keep developing yourself, keep that entrepreneur spirit high, and keep your business fun to run. And I will see you guys in the course. Thanks, and I will see you on part 2.